Hey Dave, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. So today we're going to look at faceted graph. Faceting is very useful when you want to look at relationship among variables of interest for a data frame, for instance. So here we are looking at a scalar plot, and there is an easy way to actually look at the relationship between the different variables or metrics or dimensions. You're just going to click on the diamond here, which enable you to just plot um, this faceted graph. So what you can do instead of looking one by one at different value here in different shape of the data by switching between the fields, you can just click on faceted, decide which one you want to include or not. I'm going to remove index here because index doesn't really make sense. I'm going to click apply, and what you're going to see is actually what we call a faceted scalar plot. So you're going to see the axis here being always the same, so it's else life expectancy, and you're going to see the y-axis changing. So here you see happiness rank, happiness score, economy, standard error, and you can actually see how it behaves. And it's completely normal, of course, that if you plot health against health, you have a linear graph. So this is how faceting can be very useful to get a quick look at your data and see what could be the most interesting visualization for you to then click in and then start introspecting a bit more.
Super helpful. Can you only facet on the X and Y axis, or the other fields you can facet on as well?
So on scalar plot, you can facet as well on additional settings such as a circle size matrix here. As you can see, I'm adding some additional insight to my visualization by choosing on top of that Y and X axis what I'm going to use the circle size matrix on. So instead of, again, going one by one, I can decide to pick a small portion of those metrics or dimensions. Here, metrics for scalar plot. Click apply, and now visualize the same charts this time with the same y and x axis, but with
Oh,
different application of the circle size based on the matrix that I selected. And now I can decide to hide some. I can keep maybe two or three of them, start comparing them, or I can just zoom into one to now again introspect into it a bit more.
super cool. Is it only with scatter plots that we can do this faceting?
So scatter plot is one of the most famous for it because you get a lot of value by doing so. But there are many charts in Data Explorer that allows the same functionality. So if we go to one that I think it's particularly useful to use the faceting feature is part to wall chart type. If you go to a tree map, which is a very famous chart, and let's say we add regions and happiness rank here, which you see, it's kind of readable. You can go here and you can facet on the metric. So let's say I'm gonna facet on freedom, trust, dystopia, generosity. I'm gonna apply, and you're gonna see the different tree map being populated based on this faceting. So
Nice.
again, very useful to see the relationship between the variables at stake here. The last one that we can look at will be summary charts. I think summary charts is another very powerful faceted graphs. For instance, if you look at ridgeline, where we can really see the distribution of the data point um, for the related variables here or metrics dimension at this point. So you can see Central and Eastern Europe. You have a lot of data point for trust being in the lowest value here. When some sub-Saharan Africa, they are a bit more spreaded in those first maybe 20-30% of the data points. Now you can switch again, of course, you can go to freedom and see how much Western Europe, the freedom is pretty high. Sub-Saharan Africa is kind of spread in the middle. I love this graph. This is a very powerful graph to look at the distribution of a metric across across multiple dimensions. But what you can do again is just using the facet on those metrics, pick the different metrics that you want to facet on, click apply, and now compare all of them all at once. So on one single canvas, you can now look at those different metrics at once and maybe, figure out which one is the most interesting, which one you will see maybe have a commonalities between all the different dimension here, or which one will give you the most discrepancy between those different dimensions.
Oh, it's very cool. Thank you.
Thanks.